Hello everyone, Rose here. As one of Jehovah's Witnesses, we were taught doctrine. We were encouraged to build faith. But very few of us were ever taught to examine the structure. Now, doctrine is what we learned at the meetings, in the publications, and in the videos. Faith is what we personally believe. And structure is how the organization is arranged and who actually makes the decisions. In this video, we're going to look at the legal and organizational structure connected to Jehovah's Witnesses, including corporate entities, property arrangements, and decision-making authority. It's not to attack what anyone believes, and it's not to question anyone's faith, but it's to understand how the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, the Watchtower organization, functions in real, practical terms. Because when decisions affect money, property, and control, it helps to know who is making those decisions and what structure they operate under. Now, when we talk about structure, we're not talking about belief. We're talking about organization. Structure answers questions like, who owns the property? Who controls the funds? Who appoints the elders? Who can change teachings? Who makes the final decisions? Now, those aren't faith questions, what we believe. They're governance questions. As one of Jehovah's Witnesses, many of us focused on doctrine, what we were taught, and we focused on faith, what we believed. But structure operates whether we examine it or not. Jehovah's Witnesses are connected to a registered religious corporation known as Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania. That corporation holds assets. It oversees property. It directs funds. It operates through officers and legal entities. That doesn't make it unusual, because many religious organizations are incorporated. What matters is understanding how that structure functions, especially when decisions involve property, money, and authority, because structure determines who has control, and control determines outcomes. Religion and corporation are not the same thing. Religion teaches what somebody believes. It shapes their conscience. It guides worship and moral life. A corporation manages assets. It oversees property. It handles funds. It limits legal exposure. And it makes operational decisions. On paper, those are different functions. But within Jehovah's Witnesses, those functions operate together. Meetings, preaching, and spiritual instruction are presented as matters of faith. But decisions about kingdom hall mergers, property sales, centralized funding arrangements, and organizational restructuring, those are operational decisions. But as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, many of us experience those changes as spiritual direction. Yet structurally, they were administrative decisions made through corporate channels. In some areas, congregations are listed as holding property in trust. On paper, that can appear to be local ownership, but holding the title and controlling decisions are not the same thing. The question isn't whose name appears on a document. The question is, who makes the final decision? When a kingdom hall is merged or sold, that decision is not voted on by the congregation. It flows through the structure, and structure determines authority. When religious language and corporate governance operate together, it can be difficult to see where one ends and the other begins. And that's why it matters how we see things. There was a time when Jehovah's Witnesses were widely known as a publishing organization, and I remember that time. We received 4 magazines every month. New books and brochures were released regularly every year at the conventions. Conventions often meant a new publication, something we actually looked forward to. We anticipated receiving something. We would ask, what are we going to receive this year? So printing was visible because of the quantity of publications released. Literature was central, so it felt active, expansive. Over time, that changed. The magazines became thinner, then less frequent, then primarily digital. Printing operations were consolidated. Physical releases started to slow. The volume of newly released publications started quietly reducing, and I lived through that transition. At the same time, something else was happening. Congregations were being merged. I lived through that too. Kingdom halls that felt permanent were combined. Congregations that had history together were dissolved and reassigned. And for many of us, that wasn't just administrative. It meant losing familiarity, losing rhythms, watching something we helped build change direction. And those weren't doctrinal changes. They were operational decisions. And operational decisions flow through structure. When publishing decreased and property oversight increased, the function of the organization shifted, not in stated belief, not in what was preached, but in how it operated. When we talk about structure, this isn't about paperwork, because it affects real people. It affects congregations. It affects families. It affects people's stability. When a kingdom hall is merged or sold, people don't just relocate. They lose familiarity. Their long-standing friendships shift. Elder bodies change. Travel increases. Some quietly stop attending. Now that isn't doctrine. That's the impact of the structure. When publication output decreases and everything moves digital, that changes experience too. For decades, printed literature shaped routine. It shaped study habits. It shaped anticipation. And when that rhythm changes, the feeling of the organization changes too. Again, not in belief, but in daily life. Structure determines who makes decisions. And when decisions are centralized, local congregations do not direct the outcomes. They receive them. And that isn't presented as corporate governance. It's often presented as spiritual direction. But structurally, it flows through organizational channels. And when we understand that, we can then separate what we were taught, what we personally believe, and how decisions are actually made. Understanding structure doesn't require someone to lose their faith. It just helps us see things as they are, because belief and governance are not the same thing. As one of Jehovah's Witnesses, many of us never separated those categories. Our doctrine, faith, and structure were always presented as one unified whole. What we were taught, what we believed, and how decisions were made. They all felt connected, but they are not the same thing. Doctrine is what we were taught. Faith is what we personally believe. Structure is how it's organized and who makes the decisions. But when those categories are all blended together, it can be difficult to tell which kind of decision is being made. Is it a spiritual teaching, or is it an organizational directive? Is it about what we believe, or is it about governance? Understanding the structure does not attack one's faith. It just helps us see things as they are, because faith is about belief. Structure is about control. And it's very important not to confuse the two. I hope this video resonated with you somehow or helped give you language for what you're feeling or what you felt. Please make sure to like algorithms and all. It helps this video go out to a larger audience. And if you really enjoyed it and would like to learn more about the history, changing teachings, as well as lived experiences, please make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And if you're able to, please share to help others understand the internal teachings and life impact as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. As always, take care of yourself and continue to search for truth beyond the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, which is now known as the Watchtower Organization. Remember, truth doesn't mind being questioned, but a lie can't handle it. Thank you very much for being here.